I never thought I'd wake up in my sister's body, staring at my own face in the mirror, her smug smile frozen on my stolen lips, while the world celebrated the lies she'd built on my broken back. The phone rang that morning, Nobel committee. They said, "Congratulations to Dr. Elena Voss for revolutionizing quantum encryption," and I answered in her voice, my heart pounding like a war drum, knowing I'd scripted this humiliation down to the last damning slide. But the real shock, it wasn't the swap that broke me, it was realizing she'd framed me for embezzlement years ago, letting me rot in academic purgatory so she could shine. And now, in her skin, I'd make her watch her empire crumble from the front row. I remember the day it all shattered like it was etched in acid on my soul. It was a crisp October afternoon in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The kind where the Charles River gleams like fool's gold under a deceptive sun, and Harvard's ivy-clad walls whisper promises of immortality to anyone foolish enough to listen. I was Ivy Voss, yes, the overlooked twin, the one who slaved in the shadows of the Broad Institute while my sister, Elena, glad-handed donors at cocktail parties. We were mirror images, same sharp cheekbones, same raven hair that fell like a curtain over our secrets, same piercing green eyes that could cut glass. But where I buried myself in code and quantum bits, she chased headlines and handshakes. Our research was supposed to be ours, a breakthrough in quantum key distribution, a firewall against the digital apocalypse. I'd spent 3 years in that windowless lab, fingers raw from typing, eyes burning from screens that never slept. Sleepless nights fueled by black coffee and the ghost of our dead mother's voice. Make something of yourselves, girls. Don't let the world chew you up. Elena was the face. Sure, the charismatic postdoc who schmoozed with venture capitalists, but I was the brain. The one who cracked the algorithm that made unbreakable encryption possible. Or so I thought. The betrayal hit like a freight train derailing in slow motion. I came back from a rare weekend hike in the White Mountains, my one escape from the grind, and found my office ransacked. Not burglarized. Mind you, surgically violated. My notebooks, my hard drives, the encrypted thumb drive with the crown jewel, all gone. In their place, a single post-it note in Elena's looping script, borrowing these for the symposium. Won't let your genius go to waste.
Sis.
Love.
E.
I laughed at first, nervous, disbelieving, because that's what twins do.
Right?
Share everything, even the impossible. But when I stormed into her corner office overlooking the quad, she was on a call with some Silicon Valley shark, waving me off like I was the intern. Ivy.
Babe. Not now.
This is big. Big turned out to be her presentation at the American Physical Society meeting 2 weeks later, where she unveiled her discovery to thunderous applause. No mention of me. No co-authorship. Just Elena Voss, the wunderkind, fielding questions about the intuitive leap that had eluded the field's best minds for decades. I confronted her that night in our shared Beacon Hill brownstone, the one our inheritance bought after Mom's cancer bills wiped us clean. Rain hammered the skylight like accusations. You stole it, Elena. Word for word. That's my work. She poured a Scotch Macallan, her favorite vice, and leaned against the marble island, her silk blouse unbuttoned just enough to play the vulnerable card. Stole? Come on.
Ivy.
We're family. I polished it, made it shine. You were too buried in the weeds to sell it. This is for us, for Mom's legacy. Legacy. That word twisted in my gut like a knife. Mom had died believing in us, her quantum queens, But Elena had always been the golden child. The one who got the scholarships. The boys. The spotlight. I was the fixer. The one who covered for her screw-ups. Like that time in undergrad when she plagiarized a thesis on string theory, I rewrote it from scratch. Took the heat when the prof sniffed it out. Earned my first black mark on the record. Or the lab explosion sophomore year. Her fault for mixing chems while high on Adderall, I claimed it was mine. Swallowed the suspension so she could graduate on time. But this was theft on a biblical scale. I demanded my name on the paper. She promised, swore on Mom's grave, but the published version in Nature hit inboxes worldwide with Elena Voss as sole author. My calls to the editor? Dismissed as sour grapes from a disgruntled colleague. And then the real gut punch, the audit. University funds missing $50,000 from our grant. Funneled into Elena's consulting side hustle with a shady crypto firm. But the trail? It led back to me. Forged emails. Doctored receipts in my name. She'd set me up. Clean and clever. To take the fall while she ascended. I was blackballed overnight. Labs stopped returning calls. My adjunct gig at MIT evaporated. I ended up crashing on friends' couches, piecing together freelance gigs, decoding phishing scams for paranoid execs. Elena? She got the TED Talk, the book deal, the invites to Davos. I'm sorry, Ives. She'd text from her Maldives Baki. Let me make it right.
Come work for me.
Work for her. The irony burned hotter than a server farm meltdown. That's when I found the ad, buried in the dark web forums I haunted for gigs. A whisper among the hackers and heretics. Body exchange protocol.
Permanent.
Undetectable. $1 million crypto. No questions. It sounded like sci-fi horseshit. Some black market neural lace from a rogue DARPA dropout. But desperation has a way of blurring lines. I scraped together the fee by selling Mom's jewelry, wired it to an untraceable wallet, and met the doctor in a derelict warehouse off the Mystic River. He was a ghost of a man, tattooed circuits snaking up his arms, eyes like polished obsidian. Quantum entanglement for flesh, he rasped, strapping me into a rig that hummed like a hadron collider. Your minds swap.
Bodies stay.
Wake up as her. Live her lies. Elena was in Paris for a conference. He dosed her wine with a slow-release nanoagent. Synced our REM cycles via subdermal implants. One jolt, and the world inverted. I woke in silk sheets that smelled of her Chanel No. 5. Sunlight slanting through floor-to-ceiling windows of her Back Bay penthouse. My hands, her hands, trembled as I touched my face.
No.
Her face. I stumbled to the mirror, and there I was, Elena Voss, Ph.D., rising star, staring back with my own fury in her eyes. My old body, Ivy's body, lay in my ratty Somerville apartment, Elena's mind piloting it like a stolen car. The swap was seamless, no one noticed. To the world, I was Elena, flawless and untouchable. The power rush was intoxicating, a dark elixir that tasted like vengeance. I accessed her emails, her vaults, everything. The secrets spilled like blood from a fresh wound, not just the theft, but the deeper rot. She'd sabotaged my career from the start, tipping off rival labs about my unstable prototypes, even sleeping with my advisor to bury a recommendation letter. And the embezzlement? A smokescreen for her real crime, selling prototype code to Chinese operatives, pocketing millions while waving the patriotic flag at think tanks. She was a traitor in Louboutins, a viper in velvet. But I played it cool. Patient. I was Elena now. After all, the queen of the long con. I attended her meetings, charmed her lovers, God, the parade of bland tech bros, and whispered sweet nothings to the Nobel whispers building steam. Her paper had gone viral, citations piled up like indictments. The committee reached out in January. A discreet call from Stockholm. Dr. Voss. We'd like to discuss a potential nomination for your groundbreaking work in quantum security. I let the silence stretch. Her voice, my voice now, dripping honey. I'd be honored. When? They scheduled the formal announcement for June. A gala in D.C., where she'd accept the laurels in physics.
Perfect.
Time to orchestrate the fall. First, the groundwork. In her body, I had access to everything. Her calendar, her contacts, her goddamn soul laid bare on a terabyte drive. I started small, leaks to anonymous tip lines. Whispers to old colleagues about inconsistencies in her data. I posed as a whistleblower from her team, feeding discrepancies to Science magazine. They bit. Running a piece on questions linger over Voss breakthrough. Elena, in my body, texted furiously, WTF. Ives? Sabotaging me? We're twins. I replied in character. Just karma?
Sis.
You taught me well. She panicked. Of course. Tried to gaslight me, her old self, into silence, offering hush money via my crappy Venmo. I strung her along, meeting in dingy diners off Route 1, watching her squirm in my threadbare jeans. I did it for us, she'd plead. Her eyes, my eyes, desperate. You were wasting it. Buried in that lab like Mom.
Lies.
All of it. The real secret? She discovered our research had a flaw, a backdoor vulnerability that could unravel global finance if exploited. Instead of disclosing it, as ethics demanded, she'd patched it sloppily and sold the exploit to her Chinese contacts for a king's ransom. I'd taken the blame for the embezzlement to cover the initial test runs she'd botched in my name. The tension coiled tighter as spring thawed Boston streets. Protests erupted outside my speaking gigs, grad students chanting credit where it's due. Elena, trapped in my life, spiraled binge drinking in dive bars, hooking up with undergrads to feel alive. I watched from afar. Her social feeds a carousel of despair. But I needed the stage. The Nobel call came on a humid May evening, her phone buzzing while I sipped rose on her balcony, overlooking the public garden in bloom.
Dr.
Voss, this is Dr. Lindstrom from the Nobel Foundation. We're thrilled to inform you. The words washed over me like absolution. I feigned tears, Oscar-worthy, thanking them profusely. The announcement would drop at the physics banquet in D.C. Black tie. A-listers galore. Elena would be there. Of course, I'd insisted she attend as my supportive sister, flying her first class on her own dime. The weeks blurred into a fevered dream of preparation. I rewrote her speech, embedding Easter eggs, subtle nods to the theft, footnotes that linked to my original drafts buried in academic archives. I hacked her presentation software, ironic, given our field. Cueing a final slide, a split screen of our faces, side by side, with the truth in bold. The algorithm was Ivy's. The lies were mine, but that was the appetizer. The main course? The backdoor flaw? Live demonstrated on the venue's Wi-Fi, exposing every attendee's data in real time. Controversial? Hell yes. The press would crucify her as a fraud and a security risk. The feds? they'd be waiting in the wings. Doubt crept in, uninvited, like fog off the harbor. Was this justice or just another betrayal? Elena and I had shared a womb, a grief, a dream. But she'd hollowed me out, left me a husk. In her skin, I felt invincible, her power thrumming in my veins, but also adrift, like I'd become the monster I hated. Friends noticed Elena's edge, the way I'd snap at small talk or stare too long at my reflection. One night, alone in her cavernous bed, I whispered to the empty room, "What would Mom say?" Silence. Then, resolve hardened like quick-freeze alloy, she'd say finish it. The flight to D.C. was turbulence incarnate, mirroring the storm in my chest. Elena sat across the aisle in my body, fidgety,
Popping Xanax like candy.
"You seem
Off.
sis," she murmured, her voice my old voice small. I smiled Elena's smile, all teeth and no warmth. "Just nerves. This is our moment."
Our.
The lie tasted like ash. The banquet hall at the National Academy of Sciences glittered like a fault line about to crack, crystal chandeliers. Tables groaning under caviar and champagne. Nobel ghosts in tuxes and gowns mingling with Beltway power players. I glided through it as Elena, air-kissing senators, posing for photos with Hawking's shadow still lingering in the ether. Elena trailed me like a ghost, my old cardigan ill-fitting on her frame, eyes darting to exits that weren't there. The ceremony began with fanfare, strings swelling, spotlights slicing the air. Her name echoed, for her pioneering work in quantum cryptography, safeguarding the digital age. Applause thundered. I ascended the podium, heart slamming against ribs that weren't mine, and launched into the speech. Gratitude first, humble nods to inspirations unnamed. Then, the pivot. This breakthrough wasn't born in isolation. It came from late nights, shared secrets, and a sister's unyielding faith. Elena stiffened in the front row, her face paling. I cued the slide, our photos,
The drafts.
gasps rippled. Whispers, boss twins, co-authors. But I wasn't done.
Faith.
Yes, but also theft. The code you applaud? Stolen from Ivy Voss. My blood. My better half. The hall froze. A collective inhale. Elena bolted upright. Mouth agape. Ivy? What the? Before she could lunge, I hit enter. The demo venue Wi-Fi hijacked. Phones buzzing with alerts. Personal data scrolling on the massive screen. SSNs. Emails. Nudes from a diplomat's affair. Chaos erupted, screams. Security swarming. The back door. I intoned over the din. Voice steady as a scalpel. The one Elena hid for profit. Sold to foreign powers. My sister's genius. Corrupted. Feds materialized from the shadows. Badges flashing. Cuffing her, me? As she shrieked denials. It's her. Ivy's framing me. We swapped, we. Laughter. Cruel and cathartic. Bubbled from my throat.
Swapped.
In her body. With her memories intact, they'd call it delusion. Stress fracture from the fall. I stepped down. Microphones thrusting like spears.
Dr.
Voss. Your sister. But the twist hit like a quantum collapse. Reality folding in on itself. As they dragged her away, Elena locked eyes with me, my eyes and mouth. You think you won? In the melee, her hand slipped into my pocket, pressing something cold, a thumb drive. Not hers,
Mine.
The original. Unpatched code. The real flaw. The one I'd discovered but buried to protect the project. She'd known about the swap all along. The doctor was her plant. A failsafe to expose me if I ever turned. Hours later, in a holding cell mirror, Elena's face smirked back. But the drive's data was already leaking, courtesy of her final act. My name, not hers, tied to the vulnerability. The headlines flipped by dawn. Nobel fraud, twins' deadly deception. Who was the thief now? The feds grilled me. Dr. Voss. And I spun the tale. Elena's madness. Her confession. But doubt seeded, roots twisting. Had she stolen my work? Or had I, in jealousy, fabricated the betrayal? Mom's voice echoed. Don't let the world chew you up. Too late. I walked free. Nobel revoked. But whispers followed like smoke. Elena rotted in Supermax, ranting about swaps no one believed.
Me?
I vanished to the Rockies. Her fortune funding a new life, new name, new lies. Victory? Or just another cage? The mirror lies every time you look. The drive to the cabin off I-70 was a blur of aspen gold and regret. The Rockies rising like accusatory fingers against a bruised sky. I ditched Elena's penthouse life faster than a bad trade on the Nasdaq, chartered a jet to Denver under a ghost alias, liquidated her crypto wallets into bare bonds, and torched anything that smelled like Voss. But freedom? It tasted like stale diner coffee, the kind you choke down at 3 a.m. to outrun the ghosts. Settling into the cabin, a ramshackle A-frame I'd bought sight unseen via VPN, was like slipping into an ill-fitting skin. No lab hum, no accolades, just wind whistling through pine cracks and a wood stove that belched smoke like guilty confessions. I told myself it was rebirth. Ivy Voss, risen from the swap's ashes, untethered from Elena's sins. But mirrors were my enemy now. Every glance showed her, high cheekbones, that predatory tilt to the lips, and I'd shatter them with a hammer. Shards crunching under boot like brittle trust. Sleep was the worst. Nightmares looped the banquet, her eyes boring into mine. The thumb drive's cold kiss. The slideshow flickering to reveal, not just theft, but my own buried flaw, the algorithmic Easter egg I'd coded as a safety valve, a kill switch against misuse. I'd hidden it, told no one, not even Elena, because disclosure would have tanked the project, our shot at glory. But she'd found it, exploited it, then flipped the script to make me the villain. Or had she? Paranoia gnawed. What if the swap had scrambled more than bodies? What if her memories bled into mine? Twisting truth into a Mobius strip? First week. I hiked till her legs screamed, chasing clarity in the thin air. Summit of Mount Elbert. Lungs burning. I screamed into the void. It was mine. The work. The pain. All mine. Echoes mocked me, bouncing back as Elena's laugh. Down in the valley, civilization crept via satellite Wi-Fi, news feeds devouring the scandal. Quantum twins, betrayal or breakdown? Pundits dissected us like lab rats, CNN's Fareed Zakaria calling it the dark side of American ambition, Fox spinning Elena as a deep state pawn. Grad students launched petitions for my real recognition. Ethicists decried the backdoor as original sin. One article gutted me. An interview with our old advisor,
Dr.
Hargrove, his jowls quivering on pixelated screen. Ivy was brilliant, but unstable, always cutting corners. Elena, the steady hand, unstable. The word from the suspension, the explosion I'd covered. He'd betted her. Gotten the truth third hand. I emailed him anonymously, spoofed IP from a Tor node. Remember the rewrite? The chem mix-up? Lies have half-lives. Document. No reply. Just crickets and a subpoena notice, Fed circling. Probing the swap rumors, Elena babbled in court. She'd pled not guilty. Of course, insanity defense. Claiming body possession by her jealous twin. Psych eval leaked. Delusional parasitosis. Exacerbated by familial trauma. The judge. A grizzled Reagan appointee. Shut it down. Save the sci-fi for Netflix. MS. Voss. Sentencing in federal court. Denver Division. Irony's gift. Loomed in September. I could have ghosted. Let her rot. But unfinished business itched like a phantom limb. Revenge wasn't sated with one fall. It demanded an encore. I drove down in a rented Subaru. Nondescript as a tax form. Checked into a Holiday Inn under Jane Doe with cash. The courthouse was a squat brutalist bunker. Protesters milling like ants on formic acid, academics in tweed, tech bros in hoodies. Conspiracy nuts waving free Elena, swap the verdict signs. I slipped in back row. Baseball cap low. Heart jackhammering as they let her out. My body gaunt. Hollowed by jail slop and meds, shuffled in orange. Chains clinking like bad karma. Our eyes met across the docket. Hers, mine, flared with feral glee. Ivy, she mouthed. No one heard but me. The trial was a circus on steroids. American justice porn, prosecutors painting her as a Manchurian cybermole. Defense trotting out shrinks and grieving twin sob stories. I testified, reluctantly, as Elena Voss. Victim, in a voice that cracked like thin ice. Ivy. Always resented my success. The research? She contributed ideas. Sure. But I refined it. The flaw? Her paranoia. Coding in failsafes without telling me.
Lies.
Layered like Elena's makeup. But they landed. Jurors nodded, blue-collar folks from Aurora suburbs, suspicious of ivory tower twins. Cross-exam was the minefield. Her lawyer, a slick ambulance chaser from Philly, leaned in, Dr. Voss. Rumors of a
procedure.
Body exchange. Care to comment? The room tittered. I laughed. Elena's practice trill. Sounds like something from Black Mirror. My sister was brilliant, but unstable. This is her fantasy. Projecting guilt. He pressed. And the thumb drive? Data traces to your accounts. I'd anticipated. Blamed a shared cloud breach. Jury ate it up. Occam's razor slicing toward sanity. Verdict day. Thunderheads piled over the front range, mirroring the storm in my veins. Guilty on all counts. Fraud. Espionage.
Theft.
25 to life. No parole. As they hauled her away, she twisted, screaming, "It was you. In my skin. You bitch. Admit it." Bailiff gaveled silence. I slipped out, rain lashing like judgment, and puked in the alley behind a dumpster. Catharsis?
Or just bile?
Back at the cabin, the high crashed. Nights stretched endless. Fireflies mocking the dark. I pored over Mom's old letters, yellowed envelopes from her chemo days. Girls, science isn't glory, it's truth. Don't let envy eclipse it.
Truth.
What a cruel joke. Elena's memories surfaced unbidden, her terror during the swap. Waking in my body, realizing the trap. She'd orchestrated it as insurance if I sniffed too close. She'd exposed the mutual dirt. But I'd beaten her to the punch. Or so I thought. The flaw? Turns out, I'd coded it deeper than I remembered, a recursive loop that mirrored her exploits back on her. We'd both sold pieces, desperate for funding when grants dried up. Twins, after all, mirrors reflecting the same greed. Doubt metastasized. I reached out to the swap doc via dead drop, a burner phone in a trailhead cache. Reversal possible? His reply. One-way street.
Voss.
Entanglements permanent. Live with it. Rage boiled. I torched the phone. Watched flames dance like accusations. Was I Elena now? Her poise in crisis? Her ruthlessness? Or still Ivy? The fixer. Covering one last mess? October brought snow, blanketing the peaks in false purity. News cycle shifted, another election circus. AI doomsayers, but our saga lingered in podcasts. True crime pods dissecting the quantum switcheroo. One host, a gravel-voiced ex-cop from Chicago. Hit too close. Twins don't just steal work, they steal souls. Who's really behind bars? Listeners flooded comments. Team Ivy, justice porn, versus Elena's innocent. Sibling rivalry gone nuclear. Debatable. Divisive. Exactly the controversial knot I tied. I started writing anonymous blog. From the other side, spilling half-truths. The betrayal's sting. The swap's vertigo. The moral quicksand of revenge. It went viral in nerd circles. Drawing emails, offers from publishers, pleas from Elena's victims. One stood out. Hargrove. Forwarding a package. Inside. A USB, our undergrad thesis. My rear-eyed intact. Note. Knew all along. Forgiven old fool. No forgiveness. But a seed. Maybe redemption wasn't erasure, but reclamation. Thanksgiving loomed. Solitary turkey in the oven. TV droning football scores. Phone buzzed, unknown number. I answered. Against every instinct. Her voice, my old voice. Tinny through prison filters. Ivy? Or whoever you are. Visit. Silence stretched like taffy.
Why? Truth.
The real one. Before I fade, I hung up, staring at the fire. Visit? Pour gas on the embers? Or snuff it out? The decision hung. Controversial as the flaw itself. Confront the monster. Risk the mirror cracking wider. Or walk away. Let the lie ossify. Mom's voice. Truth. Girls.
Fine.
One last con. The prison drive was a white-knuckle gauntlet. Plows carving paths through drifts like scalpels through scar tissue. Florence ADX, Alcatraz of the Rockies, loomed as a concrete scar on the snowscape. Supermax for the unrepentant. Clearance took hours. Pat-downs. Psych screens. The works. Relation to inmate? Guard grunted. Sister, I lied. Elena's lilt masking the tremor. She waited in the visitation booth, separated by plexiglass smeared with ghosts of touches past. My body thinner, etched with institutional gray, leaned forward, eyes fever-bright. You came. No preamble. I nodded, throat dry as code. Truth. Elena. All of it. She laughed, bitter as burnt wiring. Truth? We both know it died with Mom. I stole your work, yes. Framed you guilty. But the swap? That was you?
Ives.
Your ad. Your desperation. I found out after. Played along to survive. Bullshit.
Or was it?
The flaw, I pressed. You sold it. Her smile twisted. And you buried it. For the same reason, fame. We mirrored each other, always have. The committee's call? I let it happen too, knowing you'd blow it up. Pyrrhic, but poetic. The words landed like a system crash. Buffers overflowing. We'd both rigged the game, her theft fueling my rage. My cover-up enabling her sale. Twins, entangled, each other's undoing. So what now? I whispered. She pressed a hand to the glass. Reverse it. Or don't. But live.
Ivy.
Not as me. Guards signaled end. I stood. Her face, my face, receding.
Outside.
Blizzard howled. Visibility 0. I drove blind. Wipers slashing futile arcs. Pondering the twist. No villain. Just victims in a feedback loop. Reversal? Tempting. But the doc's words echoed.
Permanent.
Back home. I smashed the last mirror. No more reflections. The blog ended with a post. The quantum lie. We were both wrong. Comments exploded. Debates raging. Sides hardening. Happy ending? Tragic farce? You decide. Winter gripped the cabin like a vice. Frost etching fractal patterns on windows that mocked my fractured psyche. Elena's words festered. A viral subroutine rewriting my core. We were both architects of the abyss. Co-conspirators in a crime of ambition. No clean hands. Just quantum smears, uncertainty principles applied to morality. I could have bolted then. Cashed out to Belize. Let the legend of the Voss twins fade into Wikipedia footnotes. But unfinished code demands debugging. And mine was riddled with Elena's ghost. January thawed nothing but resolve. I hired a fixer, ex-NSA, found via dark web whispers, a grizzled operator named Reyes who chain-smoked camels and spoke in clipped code. Reversal? Risky. Doc's dead, overdose. Official, hit. Street. Figures. But echoes linger. Neural ghosts. We map maybe yank the swap. Cost, half her fortune. I wired it without blinking. Session started in a converted barn near Aspen, VR rigs. EM fields humming like angry bees. Reyes strapped me in. Relax.
Voss.
Or whoever. This'll hurt.
It did.
Flashes assaulted. Mom's hospital beep. Elena's undergrad kiss stolen from me. The lab explosion's acrid bite. Deeper, the flaw's birth. My fingers flying over keys. Embedding the backdoor not as safety, but sabotage. Insurance against Elena's rising star. A hidden spike to deflate her if she eclipsed me. Christ. I'd authored my own betrayal, projected it onto her like a bad hologram. Sessions peeled layers. Reyes grunted approval. Entanglements fraying. Another month. You might wake as Ivy.
Might.
The word haunted hikes, where elk stared judgment through antler crowns. News pinged sporadically. Elena's appeal denied. Her delusions medicated into silence. A tell-all book deal surfaced, ghostwritten by some true crime hack, promising the swap confession. Publishers hawked it as the next Gone Girl. I sued anonymously. Injunctions flying like firewalls. Controversy crested. Protests at ADX gates. Free the real Voss. Chance blending with Locke and both. Vitriol. America loved it, our mess. A Rorschach for Schadenfreude. Doubt doubled during blackouts. Power flickers from storms. Plunging me into analog dark. I'd light candles, Sketch algorithms on napkins, reversal equations, ethical if-thens. What if success trapped Elena back in her body? Exposed? Or failure left me her forever? A perpetual performance? Reyes noticed the wobbles. You're stalling.
Was.
Scared of the true you. True. That was the controversy's core, peeling the onion to find no core. Just more layers of lie. February's full moon brought crisis. A leak, Rhea's loose lips, or my own paranoia hit vice. Quantum twin seeks sci-fi reversal in Colorado hideout. Feds knocked at dawn. Badges cold as the doorknob.
Dr.
Voss, we need to talk. Not Elena's boss, mine. The real fraud. They had Elena's prison logs. My burner pings. The doc's autopsy tying back to us both. Interrogation room reeked of stale Joe and suspicion. Body swap? Come clean. Or we charge aiding espionage. I lawyered up, top dollar shark from Denver. Fees draining the rest. Plea. Therapy for trauma. Sci-fi coping mechanism. They bought it. Barely, too busy with election hacks to chase ghosts. But the scare crystallized. Reversal wasn't escape. It was escalation. Elena called again. Voice slurry from lithium. Heard about the feds. Told you, mirrors. I snapped. Shut up. This ends.
Click.
Reyes pushed harder. Rigs overclocked. Pain blurred into revelation. The swap hadn't just traded bodies. It had fused us, synapses cross-wired. Memories amalgamating. I saw her Davos deals through my eyes. Felt my Somerville despair in her pulse. You're not twins, Reyes muttered post-session. Nursing a scotch. You're one mind, bifurcated. Reversal might kill you both.
Kill.
The word hung, darker than the cabin's eaves.
March, equinox.
I drove to Florence unannounced, last visit.
I swore.
Snowmelt rivers raged parallels to my turmoil. Booth again. Her face, my face, thin to bone. Eyes clear for once. Come to gloat.
No.
To end it. Reyes says we're entangled fatal. She nodded.
Slow. Fitting.
Mom always said we'd go out together.
Pause.
The book? It's half true. Our half. Flaw was mutual, your spike. My sale. But the theft? Real. I envied you.
Ives.
The purity. Stole it to feel whole. Confession cracked something fundamental. Then why frame me? The audit. Tears, hers. Mine, tracked.
Fear.
If you shone, I'd fade. Like mom fading. Choosing you for the bedside vigils.
Mom.
The secret weed buried deepest. Her last words. Whispered to me alone. Ivy's the strong one. Tell Elena. Forgive. I'd never told. Elena assumed abandonment. The betrayal's root. Fertilized in grief. We talked till buzzer, plans unspoken. A pact sealed in silence. Back home, I torched the rigs. Reyes paid off with hush money. No reversal. Acceptance. Live as hybrid. Voss squared. But the climax brewed in Stockholm's shadow. Nobel rescinded fully. But a rogue committee, dissidents, ethics hawks, leaked an addendum. Joint recognition pending investigation. Press frenzy reignited. D.C. Hearings. Subpoenas for us both. I testified remotely. Elena piped in from cell. Truth serum hour. We collaborated. Flaws and all. Betrayal? Mutual.
Swap.
Metaphor for our merge. Gasps. Applause. Controversial catharsis. Juries of public opinion split. Redemption arc versus cop-out for crooks. Elena got commutation. House arrest. Monitored. Her cooperation. Buying freedom's edge. Summer solstice. I fetched her from ADX gates. Parole truck idling. Ironic homecoming. She emerged frail in my old jeans. Squinting at sun. Now what? I tossed keys. Cabin.
Then.
Co-author the fix. The flaws patch. Open source. Redeeming our mess. Drive back. Awkward silence. Then laughter. Hers.
Mine.
Ours. Bubbling at a radio quip about twin telepathy gone wrong. The cabin swelled with us. 2 bodies. 1 mind. Cooking chili over fire. Debating code till dawn. Mirrors stayed covered. Reflections obsolete. Book deal? We wrote it together. Entangled Lies. Bestseller. Proceeds to Mom's scholarship fund. Twists reversal. Not who stole what, but that theft forged unbreakable bond. We'd borne each other's crimes. Mistakes mirrored, but emerged alloyed, stronger than quantum steel. Ending? Debatable as ever. Happy. In redemption's glow? Tragic. Shadows lingering? Elena, back in her skin. Me and mine, Reyes, ghost yank a placebo. But belief sufficed. Smiles across breakfast. We made it.
Ives.
I nod. Pouring coffee.
Yeah.
We did. But in quiet moments, I wonder, whose dream is this? The world's? Or just another con?